It's time to take off my rose-tinted glasses and rewatch Avengers. How will it hold up?
I am a god, you dull creature, and I will not be bullied by that.
Part of me was worried and was considering that when I go back into this movie, it's not going to be the same. Things are not going to hit. Dialogue won't be funny.
Sir, please put down the spear.
And I just won't maybe be able to connect with it as well as I did when Avengers first came out. And each time I've revisited this movie, I think up until this point, I've had fun. And so the question was, will this still be fun for me?
Big man in a suit of armor. Take that off. What are you?
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
Let's start off with just talking a little bit about Avengers and the build-up to this movie. So I think something that is important to consider, even though I'm trying to see these films as films a little bit out of time, I'm trying to approach them from a viewpoint of, let everything else fall away and see the movie really for what it is. And I am doing that. However, you can't watch this movie without acknowledging the fact that every other film that we've watched to get here has led to this moment. This is a huge moment for Marvel, and they took a big risk, a big gamble, putting out all these movies to build to this one film where kind of everything else that we've built up to this point is riding on it. Like if Avengers didn't do well, we wouldn't have the MCU today. And did it do well just because we were all like blinded by the light?
The light.
Was that why we loved it? And I gotta say, I have watched those other movies, but even if I hadn't, I feel like this movie is just so solid. Not only do we have payoff here that honestly feels very well earned, and something that I have a problem with, I think, in some other MCU movies, is that when we get these big moments, like when the Avengers are all suiting up, when they're all coming together for the first time, and we get to see them all finally gathered, all of that feels like hype that is deserved. We are buzzing with excitement at that moment, and I can't ignore that even though I'm trying to watch this disconnected, I still felt the excitement. All of the hype that we've gotten is earned, and this movie also exists in a place where I feel like this movie itself is just solid, and there's a few reasons for that. I think it provides a solid foundation, especially for these characters. It's very clear going into the movie that the movie understands who each of these characters are. We know who Iron Man is. We've already seen him in other movies maybe, but even if you haven't, this is a great introduction to him. This is a fabulous introduction to Black Widow, who, let's be honest, didn't actually have too much anyways before she's introduced in Avengers. I love the chair scene, the intro scene that we get with her, and her taking the call in the middle of that interrogation.
We need you to come in.
Are you kidding? I'm working.
Also, whoever is trying to say that Scarlett Johansson is not like super cool as Black Widow, I've seen a lot of people trying to put other characters above her. And look, I get it. There's a lot of great characters. Florence Pugh as White Widow, she's great. However, Scarlett Johansson, especially in Avengers, she is so freaking great as Black Widow. She kicks so much butt. My goodness. We did not know how good we had it having this entire cast, honestly. Getting to see Chris Evans as Captain America in this. I mean, he embodies Steve so freaking well. He really represents, I think, everything that Steve stands for. The clash between him and Iron Man is so good. We also, of course, have Chris Hemsworth coming in as Thor, who really brings a very otherworldly sense to the film. And he's representing like completely different things than the rest of the team. And then of course there's Hulk. And let's not forget that this was Mark Ruffalo's first film as Hulk. And he completely nails it, in my opinion. In fact, I think that his Hulk is actually more interesting than Ed Norton's Hulk. And I know that's going to be a hot take for some people, but that's how I feel about it. I think Mark Ruffalo's take with the character and what Marvel ended up also doing with that character with Mark Ruffalo is just more interesting, because I think exploring the relationship between the two characters of Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and the fact that they are kind of the same person while also being different, while also being separate, but coexistence being a huge part of who they are, and Bruce feeling like he's the monster, just all of that I think is so well laid out and well explored in this movie. And Mark Ruffalo just immediately is believable as Bruce Banner. I think he's a great Bruce, honestly. I think the best thing about this movie is the interactions. And that's what I love about the movie, is that it's got great action. It's got these fun, big, real sets where real things happen. Like there is at one point a car that just like, they flip when they're in the tunnel. It just blows up or flips, and that they did that. They really did that. I love that there's so much practical effects in this movie, which is why I think it also ages very well visually. But the whole thing that we're here for really isn't even the action, really isn't even the plot and the fact that, you know, the Chitauri are like invading, who we made up just for this movie, I believe. The whole fun part of this, other than, you know, getting to see the helicarrier and all of the fun comic book references that you're like, I can't believe they're actually going there. This is such a big component of the comics. This is such a kind of outlandish thing. The helicarrier is so ridiculous, but they just did it and they committed to it. Outside of all of that, it's not really what it's about. It's not about the plot. It's not really even about Loki. It's about these characters and how they relate to each other. And sometimes how Loki still relates to Thor. I gotta say, I think for chemistry, the best chemistry in this movie still, you can't beat it. The brotherly love, the resentment, their relationship is so complicated. And so every time I see it, I'm like, yes. But Tom Hiddleston and Chris Hemsworth just have electric chemistry on the screen. I love watching them together, so I'm glad we got to see them in this.
Listen well, brother.
I'm listening.
There's so many jokes that still work as well in this movie, speaking of that. I mean, the film is cheesy, don't get me wrong. It is a bit cheesy, but I feel like it works because there's a sense of earnestness to it. And I think, honestly, that is when superhero media, when superhero movies especially, work the best. When there is a commitment, when there is a sense of honesty to the source material, we just embrace it fully. We just accept it and love it for what it is, and accept that sometimes it is going to be a little silly or a little goofy or larger than life. But that's the fun of hero stories, and that's the fun of superhero comics. Obviously, we can't ignore the fact that Joss Whedon is heavily attached to this film. But regardless of Joss Whedon as a person, what I will say is it's very clear that Joss Whedon is a comic book guy. You know, you can tell that he's a guy that's written comics and understands them, because the way that this film is approached, the way it's all built up, even just the opening of the movie, it immediately pulls you in. You're dropped into this horrifying circumstance. The stakes are raised immediately. This idea of the cube is going to potentially blow up everything. We don't know how big the explosion radius is going to be. Are we going to lose a city? Are we going to lose a country? Are we going to lose the world? It's just constantly getting higher and higher. And then we find it's Loki, and then Loki wants to rule the world. And so the stakes are always going up. And then in order to defeat Loki, you know, they're going to nuke him, and then we have to deal with the nuke. So everything is just becoming more exciting, so the momentum is solid. I recently also rewatched The Mummy, and I'd like to liken Avengers to The Mummy in the sense 1999 The Mummy, to be clear, not Tom Cruise The Mummy. That Mummy, it's not so good. But 1999 Mummy, I think, is really great in the sense that it just has such a solid momentum the entire way through the movie. It's one thing into the next thing, and it has moments still to breathe, like Avengers does. We do take beats with these characters. We do get to know them. We have these little one-on-one, these little intimate moments. But the story never loses its momentum. And I think pacing has been all over the place recently for movies. So to see something like this, it's like, man, that is near perfect. Also, the music, beautiful. And I think each moment that we get with the character, where they're interacting with each other, tells us so much about each of those characters along the way. So the story isn't just about something that happens to these people. It's about who these characters are and how that affects how they interact with each other and the world around them. And this idea of a team coming together. And it also follows one of my favorite tropes from comics, the idea of all good team-ups have to start with a versus, which I love. I can't believe that we got Thor versus Hulk in this movie. And sure, it gets cut short, but the fact that they just went there. The other thing is, we talked earlier about this idea of this movie taking risks. And it's very clear that they were really considering, what do we want to do in this movie, because who's to say that this movie might not be the last one? And, you know, there's this idea of when you feel that, you know, today might be your last, how much different you would experience the day, how much differently you'd live that day. And I think that is a testament to this film. I can feel a little bit of that sense of joy in wanting to get in as much as you possibly can in a way that serves the material, that serves the characters, that serves the story, but also gives the audience something to take with them in case this is our last hurrah, in case this is the last comic book movie we do. This was the end of Phase 1, and I think Phase 1 ended with a bang. And actually, looking at the lineup that's coming up, I think it is the best ending of all the phases. I think it has one of the best buildups as well, even though I feel like the movies leading up to this for me have been a mix of good to great to like, that could have used some work. But overall, I think all of them still have merits. All of them were still quite solid, and all of them led to this moment, and the moment gives us the payoff. It gives us so much to consider and think about for these characters going forward. Loki is a great villain, and I love watching Tom Hiddleston do his thing. He's clearly having the time of his life. They let him also be super evil, so that works great. They let him remove a man's eye, and you know what's even better? We didn't have to see it, and it was still scary. You know why? Because Tom Hiddleston is a great actor, and his reaction to that happening as Loki is enough for our imagination to fill in the gaps. Also, this movie is from a time when we weren't afraid to let audiences use their imagination. We didn't hold people's hands. Today, some of this stuff, I think if we released it, I think there would be people that would say, I don't understand why this happened. I think there's actually still people today that go back to this movie and say that don't understand stuff because it wasn't clearly stated in the film what was happening, but it's all implied if you're paying attention to the story, you know what I mean? The film doesn't like hold our hand too much in telling us, let me tell you exactly why Phil Coulson's death means everything. And it's not just about the fact that this movie is the sum of all the parts. It's also about the fact that this movie is once again giving us something else to look forward to with the ending. And we get that, of course, that Thanos teaser, which, wow, that CGI did not age well. No, it did not. And of course, we didn't know where we were going with Thanos when they were making this movie. They had no idea really what they were going to do with that. But I think they were just thinking, we'll give them something and then hopefully we get more movies. Hopefully more happens. I love that the momentum is just carried throughout the film, right up to the end, right up to that little tease. Of course, where will it take us next? Well, I know where we're going immediately next. Iron Man 3 and then actually Thor Dark World. So the bad CGI Thanos it felt like it was a bit of a premonition of maybe some horrors to come. But we'll see, you know, I love Guy Pearce, and so I'm very hopeful that Iron Man 3 will actually have more for me in it than what I remember last time I saw it, and that I'll come to get a better appreciation for this film. So fingers crossed that it does well. And also, if you've noticed that my voice is a little rough, I just have a little bit of laryngitis. It's just, I've been streaming a lot. Also, if you don't join me on stream, make sure you check that out. That's over here on the live tab on YouTube or at twitch.tv/vampex13. And I've also been doing lives over, of course, on my Patreon and stuff like that. So if you don't already know about that, we also have a comic book club and we also watch movies together sometimes. So I talk a lot. So I'm just losing my voice a little bit from overuse. But I hope you enjoyed this review. Overall, I'd give this movie a 4.5 stars, I think, out of 5. I just think it's near perfect. It's so good. And I can't wait to talk to you about Iron Man 3. It might not be as good, guys. It might not be as good. I'll see you next time, and until then, friends, as always, stay nerdy. Bye! And let me know down in the comments what you thought of Avengers. And also, if you like MCU stuff, don't forget to check out this video.
I do. I understood that reference.